I'm making you go away. Just another war, another fire. You're not a warrior, you're a gun for hire. Another war, another victim. Won't see me coming. It's too late to fight.
In a world full of negativity, it's nice to just kick back, relax, and just think about something other than a lot of the negativity that is going on in the world. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of GC Extra. I am your host, Nate the Effing Great here, and we're going to be talking about the one, the only Marvel, and some of the things that they have done wrong. And in all honesty, there really isn't anything really to talk about. I don't even think there's even a reason to do this episode. I mean, Marvel has been very good financially. They've done really good creatively. Marvel has really done anything. Compared to DC, I don't see any reason why this episode should happen. Marvel, I think, is just the perfect brand.
Whoa. What? Nate, I know you're always on the Marvel Disney train, but I don't think, I'm pretty sure they've done a few things wrong over the years.
What? Oh. Hi, Victory Bell. How's it going?
Oh, hi. You can't keep dissing DC. I gotta come back on the podcast. If you keep dissing DC, I'm gonna just ride the Marvel train.
All right, fine. Yeah, I know Marvel's had quite a few, and by quite a few I mean quite a bit, bumps and bruises, but honestly I thought I could get away with it. But obviously the DC fanatic is back, so there's no chance of me getting away with that. But
Yeah, you mostly did need to come back after last week's episode.
Oh, you listened to that episode, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the returning Victory Bell is here, and we're going to be talking about Marvel and what went wrong with them. Honestly, the best place I think to start with some of the things that went wrong with Marvel has to start with the Spider-Man universe. Now, normally that doesn't mean that it's necessarily Marvel's fault, but they still had a little bit of a hand into it. I mean, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 were really great. Then when we get into Spider-Man 3, of course, I've been very vocal about it, and I'm going to be vocal about it again. Where do I start with this movie? Tobey Maguire basically looked like a sobbing baby throughout it. The whole black-haired scene where he's just dancing around the street, looking so goofy and very... I don't even want to comprehend that. And then, the final nail in the coffin of this, Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. I love you, Eric, but at the same time, you're not that intimidating, even with the suit. I'm sorry. I just do not see you really having that same Eddie Brock mentality that, I remember from the cartoons or from the comics. And then we can go on to the Amazing Spider-Man.
Only do so much.
Yeah. But then we go on to Amazing Spider-Man. First one, pretty decent. Second one, of course, a lot of people didn't like it. And then, of course, the controversy happened where we didn't get another Amazing Spider-Man because of things that happened beyond, I guess, Sony's control. And then, of course, we go into the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, which redeemed itself. But honestly, Spider-Man has gotten 3 reboots, and honestly, it's survived somehow through these 3 reboots. I'm very amazed by that.
Yeah, I think where we would start in that sense of how Marvel went wrong is when Marvel went bankrupt in the 70s and 80s, and they had to sell Mr. Spider-Man. So, in order to stay alive, they sold Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is literally the hero of Marvel. And because of that, I guess that's how Sony got their hands on it. Attempted to turn Spider-Man into their own superhero, and fans just didn't really like it. Wasn't a great story. It was solid. I enjoyed, the first trilogy of Spider-Man, but yeah, of course there were issues with it. But I guess they went right again by now having the funds to buy Spider-Man back for a little while, get him back in the Marvel Universe versus the Marvel Sony Universe. Yeah, it's Sony, right? It's not Fox. Fox owns the X-Men, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get more into the X-Men in just a bit. Well, let me ask you this. Which out of the Spider-Man movies that have already come out do you think was probably by far the worst out of the 6 movies that have come out?
What movie do I think is the worst movie that came out?
Out of all the Spider-Man movies that came out.
I guess the worst one for me was Spider-Man 3, the first trilogy. Out of the first trilogy, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. And of course, we're on the same boat. I just went through that rant, so we don't need to go through that rant again. But you know what? It's good to see Spider-Man is in good hands again. Hopefully, things are going to be better than ever. And finally, we get a Sinister Six movie, hopefully. For the love of God, please, please, please. You already introduced Vulture. He's a badass. Scorpion looks amazing. We're probably going to get more. It's going to be hopefully awesome. All right, so let's go into the X-Men, actually. You mentioned that Fox Studios own the rights to them. X-Men have done, I would say they've done like kind of a roller coaster in all honesty. They've had some movies that have been pretty good. I think the first 3, from what I've seen, have been pretty good. But then after that, they did the Wolverine Origins, a Wolverine movie, and those just kind of started going down. And then they had, I think it was X-Men Apocalypse, and apparently that did not do as well, and that was not highly favored. Where did they go wrong here? Was it the fact that they did not have a connecting storyline that made sense, or was it just nothing really that kind of, drew the eye of the fans for X-Men?
Well, again, sadly, Marvel had to sell the X-Men because X-Men and Spider-Man were 2 of their most profitable sources, and the only ones they could actually sell that people would buy. I have to say the original X-Men happened when superhero movies were not filming yet. So I think any fault with those are more because of lack of technology that they were able to use, the lack of funds that they had. I think they had a good idea to stick with the original storyline and just go through the years of school and have Wolverine come to the school and all that. I think they messed up when they decided to go right into the Dark Phoenix, saga without really having any connection to the universe yet. The Dark Phoenix saga comes from an outer space type of feel, and the X-Men never went out in outer space. Like, Phoenix did not really connect with Jean the way that she did in the comic books and in the original animated series that was such a hit in the 90s. And I think if they really stuck with what that animated series did, the FX animated series, this would have done so much better. So to try to redeem themselves, I think they started doing this jumpy storyline where they could introduce random characters that people loved on the X-Men in ways that they couldn't if they were just following the same storyline. But like kind of like you were saying, Nate, it's just confusing. There's multiple actors doing multiple roles, and you're just kind of like, can we get back on the storyline that we all know and love, which is the original X-Men of Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, Jubilee, Gambit. Like, let's get those characters and build on them and have this Avengers-type team, because all these superheroes have the power and the publicity that a Captain America and Iron Man have. They just haven't been able to be released from the comic book prison. I'm calling it a comic book prison just because sadly the comic book characters don't get promoted and released the way that any TV source does nowadays.
Yeah, and I think you did hit the nail on the head where they just randomly threw in characters kind of out of the blue. What they could have done, I think that Marvel did a good job when it came to the Avengers, is that they kind of gave them their own, I guess, movies first before going right into the whole Avengers movie. I mean, they gave a movie for Thor, they gave a movie for Hulk, for Iron Man, etc., etc., and they built off of that, and they found a way to, connect the storylines together through there. But it seems like from what you're telling me, with the X-Men, they just kind of decided, okay, we're going to go through this storyline, but something? They really like this character. Let's just bring them on under, a certain circumstance, or somehow they're going to be like the game changer, or the kind of person that will, help them ensue victory or something like that, without really giving it a full explanation behind it.
Right. And to be fully honest, I did not dislike X-Men Apocalypse. I think that they're trying to start a whole new core of kids and actors who will play these essential roles. And I would like that. I think that would be cool if they went from X-Men Apocalypse onto, okay, these students now are going to be growing up in the X-Mansion, and we're going to get to actually see them evolve into the characters we know and love from the X-Men. I'm going to be honest, X-Men is one of my favorite comic book series of all time. They have so many things that are relevant to today, relevant to the 70s, 80s, diversity, acceptance, all that. It would be great to see this series flourish, but they just have to pick a storyline and let's go with it. Let's not add every single storyline. We don't need them all. Let's just stick with one.
Yeah, and I think when I was doing a lot of my research, and that's one of the reasons why I was able to find out that a lot of the X-Men movies kind of either tanked or they fell a little subpar from a lot of the other ones. One of the things I've kind of noticed is that they are going to go in the direction that you were mentioning after X-Men Apocalypse. They are going to have a story about some of the kids and how they had to basically go through life and become the X-Men that they are. I think like a new X-Men team or something like that. But also you mentioned Dark Phoenix. That's going to be another movie that's going to be coming out probably within next couple years, I believe. I think it's coming out in 2019 if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check really quick about that. But hopefully they can at least give it a little bit of justice from what you're telling me. All right, let's see here. Looks like release date is... Oh, it's going to be next year. X-Men Dark Phoenix next year, November 2nd, 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems too soon.
Well, they try to...
Personally, they haven't grown her character.
Well, we can only hope that they do a little bit of justice. And I'm very curious to see how one of their more successful characters is going to come into play when it comes into Dark Phoenix, and that being Deadpool. Obviously, he had his own solo movie, and he's got another sequel on the way coming up next year. How he's going to play, because eventually we know that he's going to be a part of the X-Men team. How is he going to play a factor into this? Obviously, they're not going to be as, funny or as quick-witted as a lot of these, Deadpool movies are obviously going to be. Do we see Deadpool taking a more serious role, or do we see him just kind of still being the, character that we've come to know and love?
Well, Deadpool doesn't really ever join the X-Men. The X-Men is not his thing. It's not his style. He just gets he's on the same, storyline plane where him himself, he has a genetic mutation, and that's kind of where the X-Men come in. They are all genetic mutations, and so they try to reach out to him all the time, but you see in his movie and in his comics, he's not on that goody two-shoe role. He doesn't like to hang out with X-Men. He doesn't like to do that level of heroics, but, I don't see him. I hope they don't put him in an X-Men movie. I think that would be weird. I'm down with him being an X-Force and stuff like that, where he gets some of the X-Men, and most of the time he's kind of hanging out with the borderline anti-heroes like himself, like Domino, and it looks like they're going to have Cable, which is great. He's, a son of some of the main people in the X-Men, so having Cable in this new movie is is awesome. Everybody's super stoked. I'm super stoked. But